Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is. I'm glad you're here. So I am going to show you guys how I do this simple little pocket. They're really not that complicated, but they're really fun and super versatile. And I have a few finished ones that I wanted to show what they can look like. And we'll talk about like choices that you can make with these and things like that. And here's what they look like in a journal. So I have this, which you may have seen this journal in a flip through, or will be seeing it in a flip through. I don't know the order sometimes of when I'm going to put my videos in. So here's the pocket itself. So you can see it's the same as one of these little friends, but I oriented it slightly different because of the picture that was on it. But you can see they look great going either direction and could be really fun to add to a journal page. The other thing you could use them for would be journaling cards, depending on what you back them with, if you want to back them. So we'll get into that in just a minute or two. But I wanted to show you an example of what they look like and what you could do with them. So this was when I was going through the flip through on this journal. That's what reminded me that there's a few things that I've done and used pretty regularly that I've never talked about. So first of all, because I like to use what I have and use up the things that I have, these bases were made from Book Page, from a tourist book about Rome, like to tour different sites and things like that. So that's why they have a lot of very interesting backgrounds on them. Like you can see the city and such there. But you can use whatever you have. You can make them whatever theme, and then just adding different embellishments can really change the look of them. These are all very earthy and stuff like that, so they're very pretty. I really like these kind of pockets. And then doing some stitching around the outside edge. So first of all, if you're going to make them similar to this, you need some sort of book page. So that is what I grabbed this book for. And so this is The Essence of English Life. And I have used some pages out of here for some other things. But then I was like, okay, well, there's some loose pages. What do they look like? And that is going to be what we're doing. So there's some different things there. So I just pulled a few pages out because there's some great stuff in this book. And it's a stitched signature one. So I can use them for book pages in my journals too, so that I can use them in signatures. But these big scenes, while they do look nice in journals, they also, as you can see, make good background for those types of things as well. So we're just going to start cutting some of these friends down, and I really want to focus on getting as much of the image on these as possible. And most of these pockets that I do are going to be they're about 5 inches by 3. So like a 5 by 3 note card or something like that. That could give you a good idea of size range. You can make them whatever size you want. So depending on the journal, and you can see I do have, this one's a little bit bigger because I like to have some variation. I don't always do stuff exactly the same every single time. So let's get going here. So first off, you need some sort of images, and I'm just going to tear this one along there. And maybe we'll just make a couple just to give an idea. I think this one I thought was pretty fun. We use this side too. So we'll cut a couple and then we'll do the next step. That's kind of nice. Maybe we'll save this one for an actual book page, journal page. All right, so next we need to cut them down to the appropriate size. So first off, I'm going to take off some of the white that's on these, and I'm just gonna grab my little paper trimmer here. This isn't so bad. I probably don't mind that so much, but we're gonna get rid of it anyway. So that edge is fine. Let's go ahead and do it this way. All right, so now that we have it like that, then let's see, what will 5 inches give us? About there. That is nice. I like it. Let's do it. So I'm just measuring 5 inches here. And now let's see what if I'm going to do it this way here. So if we're going 3 inches, this is where I kind of like to look at the picture a little bit to see what we have happening. I want to get all this cheese on one section, so I'm going to make this one a little bit taller. So then I start looking at the image a little bit more too, just to kind of see what we have happening. And voila. I think that's good. And this is kind of interesting too. This is bread actually. So that's nice. So we got 2 there. And then this is a tall one. And we could leave this as is, as a really big pocket. How tall is that? I have to get used to using the measurements. I like the ruler on the bottom of this. I'm still not quite used to, and I can't see as much. I like that it has like 3 by 5, 4 by 6. It has all these different measurements that are already kind of built into it, which is really nice for this. But it doesn't necessarily help me when I'm kind of going off book here. Let's see. It's a little tall. Let's take a little bit off the top. And then I'm kind of fine with that side. Actually, I want to trim that rough edge because it might be in the, depending on which side we want to trim it to. So I think we might let this one just be big like this, because I kind of like this whole background kind of situation here. So that's 3. Do I want to do one more? Let's do a scene, something a little more scenic. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to trim off the white really quick. All right, now what does 3 inches give us here? There. I kind of want to get the house. I want to get the house in there. Okay, so that, and then this friend. Okay, so then you guys could be fun little journaling cards. This is kind of just a weird scrap. This is paper strips that are going in the garbage. Oh, that one's kind of pretty. Of course, saving weird schnibbles here. All right, so I'm gonna set these friends out of the way that we're not gonna use. Next step, I like to back these. Unless you have really heavy paper. If you're using a heavy paper, you wouldn't necessarily need to back them. And they are pretty sturdy. Oh, I should have looked at the other side. Biscuits. Oh, well, it is what it is. We made choices. How does this side look? Okay, that could be interesting. I think we'll do the pocket, that one on that side. Because I like that. I like that. That's nice too. We're going to go with this side. See that? Make sure you double check the sides of your, both sides. Oh yeah, that was fun. Cute. Okay, no, I like the cheese. We're going to go with the cheese. I like cheese. All right, so we have a couple options here. This could just be a journaling card. So I think we'll just make this a journaling card, which is another thing you can do with these friends. So next, backing. I just find scraps. I'm digging through my scraps. I'm using up scraps. You're not going to necessarily see these, so it wouldn't matter what you put on them unless you decide to make them journaling cards or leave it as an option for yourself. Because instead of making a thumb hole, you could just round the corners and you have a journaling card. So that's why these are really fun, versatile pockets. So first of all, let's get these glued onto some backing, and then we can go from there and decide what we want to do with them. So I am just going to get my glue book that I have here. So this is just a magazine or some sort of book that I'm not interested in keeping, so I can glue pages and stuff together. So, and yeah. Okay, next step, trim them down. So you could, if you knew you're going to utilize most of the page, you could glue the whole page down onto some backing first. I also decided I'm going to make this one into a journaling card. So I'm leaving a slight border around the edge, and I'm going to see if I can get it even all the way around here. Pretty even, at least. So I decided to make this into a journaling card. So that one is trimmed. Now these friends, we're going to cut close because we are making these into our pockets. All right, so now we have 4 pockets and 2 journaling cards out of that. So next step is going to be going to the sewing machine. And first, before I do that, rounding corners. Rounding corners. Where's my corner rounder? I'm not going to round this one. I'm going to leave this one square, but this one I'm going to round. So I'm going to round the corners on all the way around the journaling card. So this is where you could very simply turn this into a tag instead by using a different type of punch. I'm just going to make it a journaling card, not a tag. So I'm just going to round the corners. I like rounded corners on my journaling cards, but not always. I like the border sometimes. So for these pockets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to corner round just the bottoms and leave the top edge square. That's my preferred choice. You, of course, do what you like to do. And then next, we're going to make the little thumb hole divot as well. So that you just need a circle rounder, or you could just nip it out with the scissors. I like to use a circle rounder. A circle punch, my goodness. And then I'm guesstimating the center. You can measure. I tend not to with these friends, unless I'm planning on being super precise, but most of the time I can eyeball it enough. And of course you don't have to do this step either. This is just, I think it gives them a more finished look. Cheese. I love this cheese one. All right, next to the sewing machine. Also a step, if you don't have a sewing machine, don't worry about it. You don't have to do the stitching. You could just do some doodling around the edges. You could leave them as is. You could just ink. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to take these next to the sewing machine, so I will be back with these all sewn. All right, so here we are. So I did the stitching in a couple different ways, just again to show you a variation. And then, of course, our journaling cards too, I did the same thing with. So here we are. Let's see if I can get up close to show you. I should have done that first before I sat down. Okay, so this one, I just did it really neat and straight all the way around. And I just used the thread that was in my machine right now, which is a kind of like, it's a slightly green color, but right now it's looking very gray with this. So even, neat stitching all the way around for this one and this one. Then for these two pockets, I did around a couple of times, and I did not pay attention to being even. In fact, I wanted it to be wonky and uneven and kind of zigzag around, but I did some a little bit neater just in case I want that look for something. Then this journaling card I went around twice, kind of wobbly, but then this one I did nice and even. So this is a nice and straight, and I don't think I'm going to do anything else to this for now. I think I'm going to leave that as is, because I think that could be fun to put into a journal just like that. And of course it's already got writing, so maybe inking it would be about the only thing I'd do to that friend. So then we're going to move on and do our next step, which is of course adding a little bit of distress and then doing some embellishment. So, and trimming some threads a little bit, because they're a little unruly, a little bit too long. Some of them I will leave depending on the type of journal that I have. I will leave them longer. Like this one, I think I'm going to leave these just in case. Not sure what I'm doing with the cheese journal yet. Cheese journal. I guess maybe I'm making a cheese journal. Maybe that would be nice in like a journal about cooking or food or something like that. That could be interesting to put something like that in there if you're not quite sure what to do with some stuff, because these were all out of the same book and they're all very, very different, right? Because we have some kind of landscape situation happening, then we have like table stuff here as well. So look at your books, like you never know what could potentially be in them and how you can use them differently. All right, so let's just quickly do this, and you could wait until after you decorate too. That could be another option. Up to you what you want. These are a little bit darker, so you're not necessarily going to see as much of the distress. Also, you don't have to use neutrals. Use whatever color you want to use. Don't distress if you don't want to. Like, you got options. And it kind of depends on what your purpose is, what you're going to use them for, the style of your journal. There's so many different ways that you could kind of look at the paper that you're adding to your journals or art. So many different things. And everybody's style is going to be different. And that is perfectly okay. That's what makes us unique and makes the things that we do unique. Like, I have a number of people that I also follow and love what they do, and I can't do what they can do. I mean, I can do some of the stuff, but I can't necessarily do their style. You know what I mean? Because you kind of develop your own style on how you like to do things, or you keep experimenting until you find what you like and how to do what you like. But see how this one, because it's lighter, you can see the distress showing up a little bit better. The distress ink. And I'm going to do the back side on this too. Okay, and then I'm going to do this friend, because this will show up even better because we have that, we left the white border from the paper backing. All right, so there we go. That part is done. And I think I'm going to have to get a new dauber pad there because I see it starting to get some shrapnel on things. Okay, so let's decorate these friends. So because I need to use up scraps, that is what we're doing. So let's see what we got in here. I have this. Oh, of course, I threw it on the floor. It's a piece I wanted. Okay. So this is a piece of postcard that I used for quite some time ago for a an ATC when I was doing a bunch of those types of things. So I think that could look really interesting here. It's got very even edges. I'm going to try and make them a little bit less even because it says Dear Bro, and then I remember reading the postcard thinking it was kind of hilarious but a little inappropriate at the same time. So yeah, so that doesn't look perfect on there. That maybe here. Maybe this one. I'll go this way. That looks kind of fun there because then it looks like it's part of a letter or something. And then we can add this friend right here. Perfect. I like utilizing some of, like, when I lay these out, like I'll do a bunch of items at the same time. And generally, so you can see here, like on this one, it's 2 scraps and kind of like a focal point or something like that. So I'll lay out a bunch and then lay them out like this. So I can do a few, and then they're in my stash so I can pull from them as I need to. Now, what else do we have? We have a piece of this, which I think is nice. I kind of like that. All right, now a little focal point to go with these. Okay, I think that's what we're going to go with our decisions. Let's ink up some of the stuff on these because I want them a little bit more distressed, the items that are going on, and then we'll get them glued and then they'll be done. So I am going to grab a new dauber for this because I know I have some. All right, so now just very quickly, I'm going to ink all of these friends that I want inked. Right, okay, now the gluing bit, and make sure, hopefully, I remember exactly how everything was going to be placed. So I'm just going to quickly glue all these friends down. All right, and now we're done. So also a thing I want to point out, I have it on these, I put my background down before I put my focal point. So there's different ways that you can layer stuff too. Whereas these, I made the bases, then I added basically like my little cluster collage. So you can do it either way too. I made these a while ago, so I didn't remember that that was a thing that I had done, but as you can see, they look great both ways. So similar yet different. Different ways that you can do things, different ways that you can get results depending on how you want things to look. And that's great. The other thing you can do for embellishment too, especially if you're going to decide to make up a bunch of these, is you could use your clusters. If you have pre-made clusters, like that would have been a fantastic idea. if I had been thinking. I could have been like, oh, I can put some of these clusters on here, and that would have been a perfect ready to go little item on these friends too. So, you know, little cluster ready to rock and roll. Like that would have been really pretty on there too. Or going this direction, a little bit big for that, but you know what I mean. If you have your clusters, your pre-made clusters or something, and you just want to have fun and have a little play with stuff and things like that, but don't have a ton of time, maybe do the bases, set them aside, and then come back and just put clusters on them. Or if you're having stuff to match a journal, you can pull out just the base and then decorate them to match whatever journal you're working on or item you're doing or gift to a friend or something like that. So just think about that a little bit too. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, little talk through on a type of pocket that I enjoy making and adding to my journals, as well as a bonus of showing you how basically you could do the same thing to make journaling cards. So just simple variation, 2 types of things. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and art with your heart. You have a great day. Bye.